He woke before the light arrived. Not abruptly, not startled, just awake, as though sleep had gently released him instead of letting him go. The room felt unfamiliar in a way that was difficult to explain. Everything was where it had always been, yet nothing felt anchored. The ceiling hovered above him like a question he could not answer. He tried to recall what day it was, not because it mattered, but because naming things had always helped him feel stable. Tuesday, he decided. An ordinary Tuesday. He attempted to stretch. The intention formed clearly, but the execution lagged behind, delayed by something dense and uncooperative. His body felt distant, like an object being operated rather than inhabited. There was no pain. No sharp warning. Just a subtle wrongness, the kind that creeps in quietly and convinces you it has always been there. He lay still, listening to his breath, suddenly aware of how loud it sounded inside his own head. Something had changed. He tried again to move. This time, the effort demanded concentration. Each motion felt negotiated, as if his body required persuasion rather than command. He shifted slightly, and a wave of discomfort passed through him, not pain, but disorientation. He looked down. Recognition failed him at first. The mind hesitated, offering excuses. Poor lighting. Sleep paralysis. Exhaustion. But excuses dissolved quickly. His body appeared altered, subtly, disturbingly. Not transformed into something monstrous, but rearranged in a way that no longer matched memory. Familiar proportions felt wrong. Limbs heavier. Balance uncertain. He felt embarrassed by the panic that followed. Of all the reactions available to him, fear seemed inefficient. He had responsibilities. He had obligations. Surely this could be dealt with after those were fulfilled. The thought was absurd. Yet he clung to it. Sounds reached him from beyond the room. Footsteps moving with purpose. The clatter of everyday life continuing uninterrupted. A conversation that did not include his name. He tried to call out. The sound that escaped his mouth startled him, not because it was weak, but because it lacked familiarity. It carried the intention of speech but not its comfort. Silence followed. Then murmurs. Concern, briefly. Confusion, quickly. He listened to his name spoken with uncertainty, as though it belonged to an object misplaced rather than a person absent. He wanted to explain. He knew exactly what he would say. He rehearsed it perfectly in his mind. But explanation required cooperation, and his body had become unreliable. They spoke to him through the door. He responded carefully, slowly, choosing words that were calm and reasonable. He tried to sound like himself. The result was disappointing. Each attempt widened the distance. His voice failed to carry reassurance. Meaning arrived distorted, bent by something neither side could identify. He heard the shift outside, empathy tightening into discomfort. There is a precise moment when concern gives way to uncertainty. He recognized it instantly. He had felt it himself in others before. The door remained closed. Conversation ended politely. Retreat disguised as necessity. He was alone again. Without routine, time lost its edges. Morning faded into afternoon without ceremony. Hunger appeared late, tentative, as though unsure whether it was still required. Food arrived eventually, placed near the door, untouched by conversation. He watched the light change on the walls and realized how much of his identity had depended on movement. On usefulness. On being expected somewhere at a specific time. Now there was nowhere to go. The thought unsettled him more than his altered body. He wondered whether this change had truly begun today, or whether it had been accumulating quietly for years, disguised as normal life. Days passed. The door opened less often. Voices lowered when they passed by, as if volume itself might worsen the situation. Concern remained, but it had changed shape. It now expressed itself through efficiency. Through distance. He noticed how quickly people adapt when adaptation demands emotional withdrawal. He was no longer asked questions. He was accommodated. And somehow, that felt worse. At some point, he stopped resisting. Not dramatically. Quietly. He examined his reflection with curiosity rather than fear. The unfamiliar no longer shocked him. It simply existed. The realization disturbed him more than panic ever had. The mind, he understood, prioritizes survival over truth. It will accept almost anything if resistance proves exhausting. He wondered how many people live entire lives adjusting to versions of themselves they never intended to become. One evening, voices lingered outside longer than usual. They spoke openly. Not cruelly. Not angrily. Tiredly. He listened as his existence was discussed in practical terms: space, responsibility, future inconvenience. No one raised their voice. That was what hurt most. He realized then that love does not disappear suddenly. It erodes, slowly, under the weight of necessity. After that, something loosened inside him. He stopped trying to explain. Stopped preparing arguments that required patience no one had left. He allowed stillness. In the absence of effort, calm arrived unexpectedly. A quiet, unsettling peace. For the first time, he was not performing existence for anyone else. He simply remained. The next morning, sunlight filled the room. Outside, plans resumed. Windows opened. Conversation shifted forward. Life adjusted. The world did not pause, and perhaps it never does. What remained was not a transformation, but a question left behind, unspoken yet persistent. How much of a person must change before the world decides they were never meant to remain the same at all?